Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. All right, guys, this video is going to be about ICP. There's a number of things to go over here. Some things that we've kind of been over in the past, but they're worth going back into, some new things, and just some general points that I want to make that I think are important to remember moving forward. Now, I want to start by saying that if you don't like ICP, if you don't want to have anything to do with ICP, that's perfectly fine. I'm not telling you to invest in ICP. I've been saying the same thing ever since 2021. There's plenty of other great options out there, and that's that. So make your own decisions, do your own research. Okay, guys. So first, I do just want to go over this and better explain this. I talked about this in a video a couple months ago when I was talking about Ethereum and ICP, but I do want to go back into this for a second just because this is a really important concept to understand, and it took me a while to understand this. Now, for some of you, you might have got it instantly because this makes more sense to you than it does to me. But just for everybody else, I kind of want to better explain this. So this is how a lot of this tech is being rolled out. If you just look at the left side of your screen here, this is how a lot of this tech is being rolled out. It's being rolled out and essentially added to all of our existing technology. So it's being incorporated into our existing technology and a lot of our existing web-based applications and platforms, and integrating some type of distributed ledger system into our existing web-based platforms and applications enables all of that additional functionality. All right. So, and it's not just with payments. Okay. If you look at something like the California DMV and Tezos, the update that I shared a couple days ago, right? They're using distributed ledger technology to tokenize car titles and to put all that on chain. So when you have to transfer assets, that happens on chain. It's open, it's transparent. So this is how a lot of this tech is being rolled out. So let's say that this is Ethereum, and let's say this is an Ethereum-based application. Just pick one that uses centralized hosting providers, AWS, whatever. So this is Ethereum. The token is launched on Ethereum. However, the front end is hosted through the centralized hosting providers. So it's just important to understand who's doing what here. All right. Because there's a very important part here that you really have to like wrap your mind around. Because in all reality, in this regard, ICP really doesn't have any competition, in my opinion. All right. Because there's other networks and there's other technologies that do bits and pieces of what ICP does, but nobody is doing everything that ICP is doing. And different parts of their technology can be utilized by other networks, all right, where other networks can't say that. They really just only exist in their own ecosystem. And if there has to be any connectivity or compatibility with other networks, it's done via some third-party bridge. Okay, so this is Ethereum, and this is, the AWS, whatever application we're talking about is hosted through AWS. All right. So again, Ethereum can stay serving its exact same function right now, but ICP can replace a lot of this. So there's no more dependency on the centralized hosting providers. So it's not replacing Ethereum. It's really just offering another option for everything really being on chain, because right now the front end and everything is being managed through centralized hosting providers, Amazon Web Services. Now, forget about the fact that they could use a setup with ICP as opposed to centralized hosting providers. Forget about the fact that they could. The better point to make is that why it makes sense for more and more applications, future applications, to do this. Cheaper in some instances, it'll all be case by case based on the application. More secure, not dependent on big tech, not handcuffed by big tech. They get to access ICP's functionality, things like governance. So there are a lot of reasons, there's a lot of advantages and benefits and differentiators with using an ICP-based setup for their front end compared to using the centralized hosting providers. So, and this same concept applies to other networks and applications or tokens that have launched on other networks outside of Ethereum. ICP is going to continue to grow and scale their integrations with other networks. And we talked about this back in the Ethereum video as well. So this same concept here can apply to tokens, applications that were launched on other layer ones that are using centralized hosting providers right now. Okay. All right. ICP really has no competition, in my personal opinion. Who else is openly saying that they're trying to build new social media companies? And even if there are probably some examples of certain streaming things or gaming or whatever it may be, but the very important thing to remember there is if whatever it is, let's just say it's some type of gaming application or some type of social media streaming application, that the token itself is launched on another network, right? So just think of one that's out there somewhere, right? The token is launched on a different layer one, but it's some type of gaming, some type of streaming type thing. The thing about that is that even if they do launch their token on that other network and they're using centralized hosting providers, they can still use ICP. So even if whatever token it is, whatever application it is, even if they start on another chain, they can still, you know, they can still use ICP for the front end of their application compared to, or instead of using the centralized hosting providers. So they have a whole additional use case that other layer ones don't have. That being, they serve as an alternative separate from them being an independent network. They also serve as an alternative for other layer ones and other application, other tokens. They serve as an alternative to the centralized hosting providers for them as well, even if that token was originally launched on another network. Who else has plans to complete a full Bitcoin and Ethereum integration? Who else is executing their smart contracts or executing transactions on other networks? Where are all these applications? And you could say, oh, well, this application on ICP, nobody really uses it or whatever it may be. Keep in mind the stage that we're in right now, how long all this tech has been out there. Keep in mind all the other things that are going on right now. There's a lot of censorship issues, right? We probably, the big tech social media companies have probably seen their best days. You look at some things going on right now on Twitter with Elon not allowing and just arbitrarily deciding that people can't share what's the thing? That people can't share the blog type application that allows Substack. That Twitter essentially shut down the ability for them to share their Substack and to promote their Substack on Twitter. Look at everything going on. I mean, just look at Facebook in general. All these companies have really seen their best days, in my personal opinion. And so, where are all these other applications from other networks? And even if you can point to a few different examples, their front end is most likely hosted through one of the centralized hosting providers, which they could still use ICP for anyways. So in that aspect, they really have no competition. And again, this is just the point that I just made, but even if XYZ company launches their token on Ethereum or some other network, they can still use ICP for their front end. And there are a lot of advantages to doing that. There's probably more advantages than the ones that I listed off. People make the case for why blockchain tech is the future every day, right? Not a whole lot of people, but the small subsegment of people in crypto make the case for why blockchain tech is the future every day. People in crypto adamantly believe this, and they're right about that. So if blockchain tech is the future, then why wouldn't the ultimate end destination here be everything moving to the blockchain, front end, back end, like a setup with ICP? Why wouldn't this be the ultimate end destination? Everything being on the blockchain. If blockchain tech is that much better, offers that many more benefits and advantages to our current setup, then why wouldn't that be the end destination anyways? You look at the speed, security, their scalability, functionality with their canisters and chain key cryptography relative to other smart contracts. You look at their team, tons of former senior engineers and researchers at Google and IBM, but not just their original team. And they had the largest R&D team in the space, but also look at their organic developer activity over the last year. They're autonomous. They're not dependent on big tech. And when it comes to differentiators, they have more differentiators than I even understand. I've been looking into this for 2 years. There's things that I find out like on a weekly, monthly basis, like, oh shit, they can do this too, and other networks can't. And it's not saying that this is better or anything else. They are designed to do very different things. They're designed to do very different things. All right, you do have metaverse. augmented reality, virtual reality, gaming, SocialFi, streaming, on down the line. Anything that we currently do on the internet right now can be rebuilt on ICP. And any token or game or application or whatever that currently launched on another network but is using a centralized hosting provider, ICP can replace that centralized hosting provider, not that network protocol themselves. Okay? And I really don't think people grasp this concept. Over the last 30 to 40 years, when has newer, better technology not ultimately replaced older technology with less functionality? Name me an example. Name an example. Anything that can be done with the existing tech stack plus distributed ledger technology. So I'm referring to this. Anything that can be done with this type of a setup can be rebuilt on ICP in a more secure, faster environment, more robust network that gives the engineers and developers more capabilities than they had before, specifically referring to canisters, even though there's more things outside of that as well. If everything is moving to blockchain technology and distributed ledger technology, which in my personal opinion it is, and I think there's an overwhelming amount of evidence on the internet to suggest that that's happening right now, even though things could change in the future, nothing's ever a sure thing, it's not financial advice, but if everything is moving to blockchain technology and distributed ledger technology, if that's what the evidence suggests today, then why wouldn't the most technically advanced blockchain network be the biggest thing in the space? And it's not like they're the most, I just showed you a whole nother use case for ICP where tons of other networks could actually, in those applications, those tokens could actually use ICP. So think of this similar to Chainlink, to where it's not really, it's agnostic. It can operate on and serve other networks outside of themselves, where most other networks pretty much just exist in their own ecosystem because of the barriers when it comes to interoperability. Now, there's a lot of things like, let's say, or I say a lot of things, you think of something like a Polkadot or a Cosmos or whatever it may be. Yes, there is interoperability there, but that's more so with different networks within that ecosystem. All right, if the price is the, and just to make a point really quick, I'm very bullish on Cosmos, very bullish on Polkadot. I have both those positions. Both those are my core, both of those are core positions. Bullish on Quant too. It's just interoperability in different ways. Okay, and interoperability is an umbrella term. So just understand that the term is going to be used a lot, but it doesn't always mean the exact same thing in the exact same situations or in certain situations. It is an umbrella term, and not all integrations are made equally. And it's important to kind of understand more the mechanics of how these things work and what's more efficient than others just based on the general workflow and any potential vulnerabilities that could happen because of how the design is set up. Okay, so if price is the majority of your analysis, then the only thing that will change your mind is price going up. Then the only thing that will change your mind, price going up, will also cause you to miss out on the opportunity. Okay. So again, if you're looking at this, and guys, for most ICP bearers, modern day ICP bearers, I don't even try to argue with them anymore because reality is going to play out and we're going to find out who actually knew what they were talking about and who completely got it wrong. And I'm not sitting here suggesting that, you know, there's no chance that I could be wrong. I get other things wrong. So it's entirely possible that I'm wrong here. I put my money where my mouth is though, when it comes to this. And I'll just say that speaks for itself. But if you're making price 100% of your analysis, what happens if the price shoots up? So if you think ICP is a scam, if that's your general position, ICP is a scam because this is what the chart looks like and the price is down 99%. If that's your general position, right, with no more research than that, what happens if the price shoots up? Is it no longer a scam if the price shoots up? If the answer to that is yes, okay, no, it's no longer a scam if the price recovers and holds, well, then at that point in time, the opportunity's gone. So, that person's opinion will pretty much be irrelevant anyways. But in my opinion, this is the big issue with making price such a large percentage of your analysis. I'm not saying to completely ignore this. I understand why this is a concern for people. And again, I'm not telling you to buy ICP. The only thing that I'm saying is that if this is pretty much your determining factor, then when and if it shoots up, I'm not saying that's a given, not financial advice, but when and if it shoots up, the opportunity's gone. So by the time people figure out it's not a scam, these very people who made their entire position on ICP based on the price action, by the time they figure out it's not a scam, the opportunity is gone. So for me, I think a probably more sensible approach would be to, yes, look at the price, but then also look at everything else. And I've done 2 years of research on this. So I don't really care to go back and forth with somebody who's done 5 seconds of research on this, because in my experience over the last year and a half talking to these people, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Many of them will make the case against ICP while making the case for Ethereum, completely oblivious to anything that Vitalik has said, and completely oblivious to how the two networks can easily work together and it solve a lot of Ethereum's current problems with their dependency on big tech. Recently here, with the Italian organization that it partnered with for tokenizing Italian, authentic Italian products. I thought this was a pretty big deal that they went and actually met with the Italian Senate. And then you had the PostFinance and Sygnum Bank news that came out. PostFinance is a Swiss government-owned bank. Guys, keep in mind, Lugano, Switzerland, has already made Bitcoin legal tender. The Bank of International Settlements is headquartered in Switzerland. All right. And Polygon's also being used in Lugano. So I would pay attention to anything and everything, any type of updates and developments that come out of Switzerland in crypto. Because at the end of the day, guys, that's really the headquarters for the banking cartel. Tons of media articles written about ICP. And then you had the thing with Unicom. And again, guys, like we will have to, all we have is this, and all we have. We just have this basic information. And I went and checked this for myself to verify. You can go on the ICP dashboard and look at this. But apparently Unicom, one of the largest Chinese telecom companies, has registered a data center on ICP. And we will wait and see what comes out of this and what further developments happen down the road. But this is all the data that we have right now. But just with this, in my personal opinion, it's a big deal. Okay, how big of a deal? We would need more information to be able to say. But in my opinion, this is a big deal. And there was a guy on Twitter who I shouldn't even mention, but I think it's worth mentioning, who was just like, oh, no, this doesn't really matter because this just means that, somebody, in that general area or somebody at that location registered. It doesn't really mean anything. And then I went and looked at this guy's page, and he's one of the very ones that's talking about how Ethereum has all this value and ICP is essentially worthless. And again, completely oblivious to the fact that Vitalik has openly already stated his opinion on ICP at least 2 different times, because I know that he did one time publicly on Twitter too, when people were calling ICP a scam. It's just ridiculous. I mean, people are going to call it a scam until the price goes up. And then what they're going to say is it's centralized and you're a bad person. That's what they're going to do, in my opinion. All right, so in a further breakdown here of the ICP chart, you can see this is on the weekly here, but it was in about a 1.5 year long downtrend. And it did break out, pushed up, pulled back, and now it's just consolidating. I have no real opinions or thoughts on where it goes from here. It might just consolidate for the rest of the year, for all I know. It might shoot up. It might go back down here to tip this trend line. I have absolutely no idea. I just think it's worth mentioning that it was, because when you look at this just looks like it just flatlined. And to some degree, you could make the case that it did. But there is, reason to believe there might be a trend reversal at some point in the future, given that it already broke out of this trend right here. And that was a very long-term trend. Okay, so that's really all I have for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I just wanted to try to go over everything the best that I could. Again, make your own decisions, do your own research. And I only invest in places where I have an extremely high degree of confidence, and I do with ICP. But if you don't, then I would just recommend looking at the places where you have the most confidence, because there's a lot of other great options out there as well. And for all I know, I could be wrong on my whole call with ICP. But that's not what I'm betting on, and I put my money where my mouth is, and I'm pretty confident that ICP is going to become one of the biggest things in the space and in the world, in my personal opinion. That's all I have for this video. Thank you, everyone who's liked, share, and subscribe. Take care. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.